The Monastic Order of Arceon was first dreamt up by a thrown-away script of Alien 3. This interesting group would have remained a concept, but was amazingly brought into canon through Alien the RPG, the literal best piece of Alien expanded lore in a very long time. So I'm sure you guys know that I'm a stickler for canon, and so, now that it is canon, I can make a video on this technophobic order of monks. The Monastic Order of Arceon is a religious order of cultists that begun their interesting journey on none other than planet Earth during the 22nd century. The order is a group of like-minded individuals that are very adverse to and would be seen to be repulsed by technology. Essentially, they're technophobes. Not much is known about the exact origin of this order other than eventually a computer genius known as Saint Thomas rose to become their leader after his creation of the new plague computer virus. This virus was advanced and very dangerous. Unleashed, the new plague was responsible for wiping out a very large chunk of Earth's collective data and information banks. Credit unions and transstellar corporations all suffered massive financial damages due to the virus. This act drove more followers to the monastic order and strengthened their resolve, while solidifying them as a highly dangerous cult of individuals, willing to take drastic and violent steps to show the world their message. And more importantly, that they made some very serious and powerful enemies in the process, in the form mostly of megacorporations of the alien galaxy. In the wake of this, the remaining members were able to acquire and detonate low-yield nuclear devices in key metropolitan areas of Earth. Aside from these attacks, the Order would regularly utilize EMP assaults in order to force the public to live in a life without technology. The Three World Empire and the United Americas deemed the Order a global threat, and so a large number of members were captured, detained, and imprisoned, awaiting interstellar transport to an off-world colony or isolated prison facility by a joint task force. Whilst the higher level members of the Order were set for capital punishment, there was a beacon of hope for them. None other than Weyland-Yutani Corporation themselves. Wei manipulated the situation by buying off judges involved with the sentencing of the Order's leaders, specifically Saint Thomas. Eventually, after enough money moved, the monks were left in the hands of Weyland-Yutani under the guise that the company would transport them and imprison them in an isolated off-world colony. What was the motivation for Wei to do this? Well, let me break it down for you. Wei Corp are simply out to make a profit and or dominate space, using a variety of weapons of any kind. It just turns out that in this case the potential weapon they could get their hands on is a virus, much like the new plague. And now that they had the new plague's creator in their grasps, the Order was to be placed by Weyland-Yutani on a Class 5 station habitation sphere of Arceon, and allowed a decent amount of freedom for the cultists. They weren't allowed to leave, but very quickly they had no desire to, as their Order had begun to transform the station into a perfect home for themselves. Being a group of die-hard technophobes, they began removing as many metals and technologies from the station as possible, replacing them with wood, leading to Arceon eventually being given the nickname the Wooden Planet by travelers and space truckers alike. The group even went as far to replace the glass and ceramic with wood. The structure was recreated in an archaic, almost ant nest-like nature, with some rooms being 100 meters tall. The station is large enough and contained enough gravity to hold onto a weak atmosphere. However, the atmosphere had to be processed by the only technology anywhere on the station, located at its heart of the Wooden Planet, an atmospheric processor. This processor provided the very basic means for survival, and so was acceptable to them. Over their stay on the wooden planet, they cultivated crops and raised livestock, and truly became self-sufficient. The entire upper hemisphere of Arceon was eventually covered in a gigantic lake that also supports marine life, that again doubled for both recreation and as livestock. With the Order removed from society and under Weiyu's control, the company quickly went about taking advantage of their unhampered access to Saint Thomas, the computer genius. In Thomas's main absence from the Order, the group was instead led by an abbot, along with an older model android called Brother Anthony. Whether or not the followers knew of the synthetics' nature is unknown, however we aren't really made aware of their stance on synthetics, so it is really up in the air at this point. But either way, these two were mostly just in their place or in their position for crowd control by Weiyu in order to stop any potential uprisings or resistance. We are unsure of how much information, cyber weapons, and warfare tools Weyland-Yutani was capable of creating with the assistance of Thomas. Nevertheless though, through some unknown means, Thomas died, and so Weyland-Yutani's investment in Arceon was over. They eventually stopped supporting the colony and cut all supplies to them, as their interest there had evaporated. However, the colony continued, and with very little visitors ever passing by, knowing of the history of these mugs. The Order lived out the rest of their simple technophobic days, living off the sustainable livestock and crops. Past this point, our knowledge of them ends, but it's likely that the group are still out there somewhere, living the simple life, not being enraged by others who would force technology upon them. And as for what Weyland-Yutani created through this process is unknown, but I think that we should take away from this that Weyland-Yutani potentially has some very dangerous cyber weapons to use against their rival companies and even governments. I suppose only time will tell. Before I go, I just wanted to let you guys know about the merch store called ACHERON's Colonial Marketplace. Here you can pick up a variety of ACHERON and alien themed merch from 3 distinct product lines, including shirts, hoodies, mugs, blankets, stickers, bags, and even phone cases. So if you want to support the channel and look good doing it, pick up some ACHERON merch. But what other videos would you guys like to see? If you have any ideas or have any questions you would like answered, please meet me down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and go check out Project ACHERON on Twitter and Discord. If you want to support me further, you can become a patron where you can get access to early and behind the scenes content, the monthly and Alien Day giveaways, as well as the patron-only engraved set of items. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Until then, this is Project ACHERON, signing off.